Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. Happy New Year. I am really excited to be going into 2021. I think a lot of people are, because 2020 was pretty, it was a pretty crazy year. I'm going to start with, this is the Nightmare Before Christmas deck. And I'm going to use a couple different decks. So this is going to be a reading for New Year's Day, because we're stepping into new energy. And I'm going to do a separate reading for the year. It's interesting because I went back and looked at the new year, the reading for the year for last year, and it was a really interesting perspective. I'm going to link it here, but it was pretty right on for me. So it'll be interesting to go back and look at the New Year's reading for this year later, which I'm going to put a thread for 2021 at the end of this video. So, because that video will probably get posted after this one, but it'll be linked there once it gets posted. So anyway, at the bottom, so I had an extra one plop out, like I had the Queen of Candles, which is this black cat. I kind of love the artwork on this. So this is like a manifester, and this is like is someone who can like channel their emotions into like an outcome in the three-dimensional world. So we have her, and then we have the Chariot, which is a card of like seizing the reins and like taking control of a situation. I love how it's like Santa in his sleigh. So it's interesting that those two plopped out. But then I also got the Five of Candles, I got the Five of Presents, the Nine of Wands, the Nine of Presents, and the Four of Presents. So that's really interesting that we got these two fives here, because you know, fives are kind of difficult energies. You know, it's an energy of change, but this is a energy of conflict, which is interesting because there was a lot of conflict coming up in the holiday readings, the Christmas reading, the end of the year reading, like they were pretty dramatic, you know. So I mean, that makes sense. There were some like dueling realities that were like playing out. And then we have like the Five of Presents, which is a card of lack. And this is an interesting, because this was also in the end of the year reading and talking about this energy of lack that was being healed. And that was kind of one of the major themes for 2020. And like that was like a distortion that was being healed to like sort of like walk into this new experience in life, you know. So it's interesting that we have this conflict, we have this lack, you know, because that's a kind of toxic energy that can breed conflict. And then we have the Knight of Candles, which is like taking a bold move, you know, like really just like kind of going for it, you know, and getting the Nine of Presents, which is a card of like it always reminds me of the Frank Sinatra song, like I did it my way. You know, so this is kind of like living life on your terms. And this is someone who's like independent, they're like financially successful, they don't really need anyone, they've kind of got their own thing going on, and they don't really have to play by anyone else's rules. And then we have the Four of Presents. I had to go somewhere, but the Four of Presents, so this is like the Four of Pentacles in the traditional deck, and it's like kind of like the beginning of stability. In other decks, it's like the beginning of power. Like you've started to create this foundation that's stable that you can kind of build off of, you know. And but it's also just like, you know, with the traditional deck, there's a reminder to just like don't have like a scarcity thing going on. You want to keep it growing, you know. So yeah, it's interesting. There's like a lot of conflict that's coming up. You know, there's like dueling ideas. There's like this sense of lack, and then somebody kind of having to take this bold move and like bust through it and like kind of step into their power and be independent. And that's gonna be the beginning of like a new stability for this person, you know. And it's like similar to what came out on the bottom of the deck, like manifesting something and sort of seizing the reins. So that's kind of the Nightmare Before Christmas deck. Okay, so then Mystical Shaman is the next deck that I'm looking at, and we've got at the bottom we've got the Hunter. So this is a card of sort of like following your own inner compass, and like you know, you're kind of getting guidance from the higher realms by following your own inner compass, and in doing this you're gonna catch your bounty. You know, I was talking about in the last reading how it like kind of weirds me out that there's this like hunting sort of metaphor going on here because I'm vegan, but you know, I mean, the whole point is that you have your own inner compass, and that you have to follow that to get your own prize. Like, it's not somebody else's prize. Like, it's not a path that's already been blazed by someone else. It's like your path that's specific to you, you know? So it's interesting that came out again. But we also got the Witness, the Arrow, the Mystical Shaman, the Child, and the Andean Cross. So it's really weird, you know, because it's a different deck and everything, but it's a really similar message to what came through with the other deck, you know. So the Witness, this is a card of like empowerment, but it's like an empowerment by having like an awareness, like having kind of work through your own inner obstacles, so that when you're encountering obstacles in life, there's obstacles are reflecting something that's happening internally. So if you can like go inward and figure out like where there might be a blockage or where there might be a distortion in your perception, and sort of do that work, then it's like you're working in partnership with spirit, with the universe. And the thing that's beautiful about this is, you know, when you work from a place of ego and like having to get your way and having to be in control, you end up sort of like clawing and like trying to force an outcome and like trying to control, you know, which doesn't necessarily lead to sustainable outcomes. But in this is like kind of like speaking to true power, because like you're not really trying to do that. Like, you've done the work, you've removed your inner obstacles so that you don't have to do that. Like, you can just watch things unfold in partnership with the divine, and it's like a moving miracle, you know. And so that's kind of the power that this card speaks to. And that's followed by the Arrow. So again, like, I think it's a different perspective on a similar circumstance, where it's just like when you have come into alignment with spirit or with the divine or with the highest good, it's like when you set your intention, when you pull your arrow and release it into the universe, your arrow is going to hit the mark, you know. And so that's kind of like, it's like this person's done the work. They're like a clear channel. So when they put their intentions out into the world, they're very powerful, you know. That's when you become the mystical shaman. So the mystical shaman is someone who kind of like, it's like you're like walking through the world in this state of flow. Like your intentions are going to reach their mark. Things that you need are going to come to you as you need them, and you can trust and have faith that everything that you need is going to be provided for by the universe. Like you've eliminated fear and you've eliminated negative emotional obstacles in your path, and so you can like be in the world in the state of flow. So it's like you're not being attached to outcomes. Like you're kind of like flowing through the world but not getting attached. You know, it's like the difference of like clawing and trying to like force your will on the world and just sort of like being in the state of grace, you know? So this is like really beautiful. Like all these messages are like pointing to this like empowerment, you know, but like not in this like oppressive, diabolical way. Like it's in this beautiful, like divine way, you know? And so then that leads to the child. So this is a card of having like a new perspective, you know, and it's a card of redemption and second chances. It's like once you've like figured this out, it's like you're kind of having like a totally different experience in life, because like no longer are you like struggling, you know? It's like you can look at life from this totally new perspective, from a beginner's mind, you know, without sort of like these sort of jaded preconceptions. And we walk through the Andean cross. So this is just sort of like walking through this portal from one era of life to the next. So we've gone from this state of lack and this state of striving and conflict to like stepping into our power, becoming independent, and being like stable, like building this stability, which is like, wow, that's really amazing. And it's also amazing how these cards are lining up. I love it. This is a really good New Year's reading, you know, because I think especially like in 2020, obviously we've all struggled so much, but I feel like this is a really good omen for this new year, that there's a lot of possibility that's like coming online. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Urban Tarot, which this is a new deck that I got in 2020, which I love. Okay, so at the bottom we have the Knight of Cups, the Seducer. So this card has come up a lot recently, and like and kind of been the source of a lot of conflict, and this is an underlying energy for this reading. And the Seducer is someone who kind of like lives in the world of fantasy, you know, like they're not necessarily in alignment with reality. Like their arrow isn't really necessarily going to hit the mark because they're not in alignment with the highest good, and you know, and this is a person who might be like trying to force their will, or you know, they also kind of like try to seduce people into a desired outcome, you know, but they're operating from this place of ego because they're not in alignment. So ultimately it's just like being attached to an outcome and like trying to seduce people into that outcome, you know. So it's like playing on people's emotions, or like telling people what they want to hear, maybe to get what you want, you know, get a desired outcome, but you're kind of missing the boat, you know, because it's like that whole thing about the witness and unfolding and like clawing and trying to go for the outcome, because at the end of the day, like it's not sustainable. Like you have to, if you are working and co-creating with spirit and the universe in alignment with the highest good, like you don't have to like sell people on a dream, you know, like it's just you're just kind of in the state of grace, you know. So this person is not necessarily, this is kind of the opposite of that. So it's interesting that there's an underlying energy, and there's also a lot of conflict in this reading, you know. So it's just like right underneath the seducer, we have the Justice card. So, like, this person, like, might be, like, having, like, a moment of truth with whatever this dream is that they're selling, you know. Okay, so when I go to the rest of the cards, we got Dominion, we got Valor, Disappointment, Works, and the Mage. So, I mean, this speaks to, like, an oppressive situation, like Dominion. Like, I mean, this speaks to a situation where someone's, like, trying to, like, force an outcome, you know. I mean, okay, so, I mean, underneath this Dominion card, though, we have the Two of Pentacles, which is a card of change. So this oppressive situation is changing. And then it's interesting because we kind of have, you know, two different characters again. So we have this Knight of Wands, which interestingly, like, this person came up in the other deck too. In this deck, it's the Rock Star. But this person who's needing to make a bold move and stand their ground, like, this is the Seven of Wands in the traditional deck, Valor. So this person needs to kind of, like, make a bold move on their own behalf to, like, overturn whatever this situation is. And then we have Disappointment. So it's interesting because this is the Five of Cups, and we have this is a card of disappointment, you know, and it's a card of loss, but, you know, there's actually still a Two of Cups remaining, but you're needing to have to change your perspective in order to see that. So this kindergarten teacher, the Princess of Discs, is needing to change their perspective, you know. So it's like almost like there's two characters. So we have this person who kind of needs to stand up for themselves and they need to make a bold move. And we have this person who really, it's like they need to be schooled. Like they need, it's a teacher. They need to be schooled. They, like, need a change in perspective, you know. But that's gonna change, you know, because this perspective, which is not in alignment with reality, is causing this oppressive situation that needs to change. So, next we have the Three of Pentacles. This is a card of building a new foundation, you know, and that's coming right under this Nine of Pentacles, and, like, someone sort of breaking free and becoming independent. And interestingly, it's also, like, underneath the Child, which is also, this is a card of having a fresh perspective, a new foundation, and, like, it's like a redemption. It's almost like this person, by making a bold move and standing up for themselves, is going to redeem themselves. And then we have the Eon. So this is like a karmic reckoning. And, you know, it's karma. Like, whatever this situation is, it's getting flipped. And then we have the Magician. So this is someone who can create something out of nothing. You know, in this deck, it's like a musician, you know, and this is right on top of the Eight of Pentacles. So this is like prudence and someone who's, like, hard at work. So it's just, it looks like there's a lot of, like, conflict that's happening, you know, but it's ultimately kind of necessary in order to go through this doorway to this new beginning. It's going to be not going to be easy. It's going to be hard work, and we're going to have to like manifest this new beginning. Like, it's not just going to fall in your lap. Like, you're going to have to make a bold move on your own behalf to make it happen. And, you know, there's going to be people who aren't going to be happy about it, because there might be people who might be invested in this sort of like false reality, who might throw a fit, you know. I mean, in the holiday readings, we had this hot-headed pumpkin guy who was like throwing a bunch of fits, you know, because he wasn't getting the outcome that he was looking for. So that's probably gonna happen. Okay, so since it's New Year's Day, I'm gonna pull from this yogic path. And pull a card to end the reading. It's a really beautiful, beautiful deck. Yeah, like I said, I was gonna do some readings for the whole year, or a reading for the whole year, and I did a reading for the whole decade last year too. That I'll link up here also. So there's just like a bunch of, New Year's is kind of a moment to like reflect and take stock, you know. But I'm feeling good about 2021. I mean, it's like a lot of stuff bottomed out in 2020, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy, because I did a reading for someone last night, and she got the same card, Ganesha. And there was an extra card that flipped out too, so I'll do both of them. But that's like so wild. I mean, it's a really positive message. It's the God of new beginnings and the remover of obstacles. I mean, how perfect is that? Like, no wonder it came out twice, you know. It's a total New Year's card. Okay, you are at the beginning of a new venture that is going to bring you great success and joy. Ganesha has been removing the roadblocks placed before you, granting you a smooth transition into this very moment. These roadblocks do not exist outside of you. However, they are tritus, fluctuations of the mind, represented by his vehicle, the mouse. When you calm your wavering mind, you are able to overcome any obstacle. Ganesha will continue to bring you good luck, success, and harmony with the sweets of Ananda, the awareness of your true consciousness as bliss. So yeah, that's like a lot of the similar message that we got earlier in the reading. So that's pretty wild and pretty fitting. And then I'm going to pull, there was a second card that fell out, so I'm going to read that one too, because why not? It's New Year's. Happy New Year! Okay, so it's Ajna. Third eye chakra. You've been using your sixth sense recently, your intuitive powerhouse, the third eye, and is guiding you in the right direction. The third eye sees far beyond your two eyes and the limitations of your mind, which can only dream up what is known. Your intuition speaks to you in whispers, in visions, in feelings. Find the language of your third eye and continue to follow its hunches as you have been. The more you become aware of it, the easier this dialogue becomes. Your third eye is taking you on the very journey that your soul was put on this planet to fulfill. You came here to live, love, and learn. As long as you continue viewing the world from your third eye, you will surpass all limitations and find yourself limitless. Trust your intuition and keep moving forward. The path will continue to illuminate as you take steps. So, brave new world. Happy New Year. And we'll check in soon.